All right, so this is week one of business communications. I'm Steven. I am your um, instructor for the next 4 weeks and probably in other classes as well. Uh, does anybody, I know there's a few people, and I think this is their first class after CLD. Um, I don't remember who it is, but uh, so this, so since you haven't had me before, this will kind of be new for you. Joanna's one. Okay. There were two or three. Sarah's one as well. Awesome. So let me kind of get started. I kind of distracted myself. So anyway, um, when you go into Canvas and you pull up your course, it should look like this for you. This is the student view. People can see my screen, correct? Okay. Um, so this is what you should see. It did say 6 o'clock on the homepage, and I apologize to you guys that I just didn't change it. I think originally I was going to make it 6 o'clock, and I'd moved it, and then I decided 6:30. Now I did send out a couple of emails that said 6:30, so now I know who doesn't read their emails. Uh, I know somebody told me that they had a hard time getting their email to work. I can't remember who that was. Andrew, can you see me now? Oh, maybe he said something later. I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, it was Holly. She said she had a hard time with the emails. Oh, there's Andrew saying I'm up on the thumbnail. Yep. And I pulled up my screen so I could play Christmas music before we got started. I usually do that at play some music or something, or I'm trying to play some music and stuff, taking it up from Bob. But I kind of just a little befuzzled today. We used to, and for you guys having it before, I know I used to do classes on Monday night, but that was just too stressful. I had too many things to do on Monday at the office, and then I try to get home in time to get everything set up. And of course, Bob told me Tuesday nights is better, and I resisted that for a while. And then nobody tell him that I ever said this, but Bob was right. So um, I I may have to go wash my mouth out with bleach now just for saying that. Uh, Miss Mason just showed up. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Got a lot of people here. Hey, Tony, where's your sister at? She not show up, or is she watching with you?
I can call her.
Well, I didn't mean for you to bug her. I just thought maybe she might be with you or um, everything. So, because this is an easy way to get your attendance points, just show up for the hour. So let's go back to the important stuff. Online classes every Tuesday at 6:30. There is a link here. My instructor information is also here. So if you click on that, you're going to, of course, my picture doesn't work. Geez, I'll get that put up. So it's kind of funny when I'm in the instructor view, everything always works. And so if I don't go into student view and double check everything, for some reason I get weird stuff like the picture not up. Now, the best way to get a hold of me is by email. The second best way is you see there's a text number, and you can also call that number as well. But usually if it's just a normal everyday thing and you can wait for a few hours, well, we actually have 24 hours to answer emails. We usually answer them a lot quicker. But if you can wait for the answer, email is the best way. If it's something, that you seriously need to talk to me about, I would say text me or call me. So also, if you need to find my office phone, I'm only there 3 days a week. So long story short, that's kind of the worst way to get a hold of me. Because if it's, Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday, I won't get the message till Monday. Holly was sideways. Now, also, if you want to come in, let me know, and I will make myself available up in my office on the second floor. So, no worries about that. You'll also find the syllabus here. And then we'll talk and see what else here. There's also, here's a Zoom link. You'll find the syllabus. You'll find the course expectations. That's the picture of me that should be up on the other thing. This leads the instructor. And then here's my Facebook page that is used for Community Care College. You can also find me on Facebook here. Now, you find all this. The best way I usually find out to look at the assignments, you can find the assignments under modules. And that's just listing out the assignments. They will give you the due dates. Now, on these discussions, we'll go to that here in a moment. So you can go here. You can see the due dates. These two are due tomorrow. The grammar mechanics pre-course diagnostic. Okay, thank you, Tony. And that is just to kind of see where you're at. A little secret is no matter what you make on it, if you finish it, I just give you 100 because there's no reason to gig you on a diagnostic test unless you turn it in after Wednesday, then you're stuck. If you turn it in late, then you're just stuck with what you have. So, and I think that's only fair. If you miss the date, then you just get what you get. So we have week 1 Wednesday, week 1 Sunday assignments. There's 2 here. Then go to week 2. There's some video resources. Writing an effective good news message, how to effectively deliver bad news. And little blonde kid. Hi, buddy. And then how to effectively write bad news messages. And then I said week 2, week 3, on and on and on and on. Another way to go to that is also under assignments. And you'll see they're all just listed out with the due dates. Hey, Shatona, good to see you. Or see your name.
Hello. Wait.
Doing okay?
Yes, I'm doing all right.
Okay. Now, as you know, and now if you need to get to the assignments, one of the easiest ways to do it is click on here and then click on the next button. It should take you to the assignment immediately. Okay, and yours isn't going to look exactly like this. I don't have a student view in Cengage, but it should be something, a little similar. So if you pull down week 1, you will see chapter 1, what's due, like the Aplia assignment here. Now, here's the thing with Aplia, and I think I explained it to someone earlier. Aplia. Detected at the front door. Alexa, volume 1. The Aplia is kind of a pain. Alexa, cancel. It's because unlike some of the other MindTap formats, it only gives you 1 shot at the assignments instead of 2 or 3. And there is no setting. Bob, Brandy, and I have all dug through this thing, and there's no setting that'll give you more than 1 shot. So what you need to do, if you're not happy with your original grade, and you want another shot at it, or if there's some reason you got shut off from it or you had to leave it half done, and then it takes your grade, just email me and let me know which assignment it is. But just be aware that what I have to do is delete the old one to give you another shot at it. So you have to be willing for the other one to go away. And that's just something we're stuck with Applia. I don't like it myself, but that's just how it is. Now, and you'll see when you click on here, you're going to go to that part of the test. So today's workplace activities require you communicate in a variety of ways while performing many different tasks, which are the following: workplace tasks are communication based, face-to-face meeting, listening to a discussion during meeting, explaining work assignments, and promoting products and services. Anybody have an idea which one that would be?
All of them.
All the, well, I don't have all the above choice here. Oh, it says check all that apply. Okay, never mind. I should read the thing here too. Then once you get one over this section, continue, and it'll take you to the next one and the next one until finally, and I think you guys are getting answers here. So I'll just kind of scroll through those to give you guys a heads up. So, and you can always go back to the video and look at them. That's pretty much Cengage in a nutshell. It shouldn't be that. It's really not super difficult. Usually, the assignments follow the order of the book, or the questions follow the order of the book. So if you can pull the book up and you can hop on the assignments, although I do suggest you read the chapter beforehand, not that you have to memorize anything, but it gives you an idea where things are at and, you know, how the questions run, you know, how it looks. I always find out if you go in cold, pull up the assignment, then pull up the book and try to search for it as you do it, that it usually takes you 3 times longer than it would to read the chapter and go to it. It just, you know, you can't do that effectively. And maybe you can, but I've never been able to do it like that. I always read the chapter and then, you know, go back with the book open and start knocking out the questions. And like I said, you're already familiar with the material, kind of where it's at, and you don't have to go in cold. So there is that one. Now here is, anybody who's had me before knows I am going to just wear you out preaching about these discussions. These discussions are 25% of your grade, 1/4 of your grade. They are done on Canvas. People hate doing them. And I think one of the reasons why is you're putting it out there for everyone to read. So when you put it out there, you're going to have possibly 20, 21 people reading it, counting me. And you don't want to sound stupid, or you don't want to, you know, you get real self-conscious when you're writing something for everyone to read. And I will tell you, nobody is thinking like that. Everybody else is so worried about what they're writing that when they read yours, they're, you know, they're not thinking, oh, that's so dumb. It's like when you decide to go to the gym because you put on some weight, like me, and people think, well, I don't want to go to the gym because everybody's gonna think I'm fat and ugly, and they're gonna think badly of me. When in reality, they're just glad you're there and putting in the work, and, you know, we'll give you kudos. Same thing with this. And so, you know, just don't be too self-conscious. Now, although it says it is due on December 4th on a Sunday, I have to put in a due date, and I only get one. And so what I do is I put it due on Sunday, but what I ask is everybody try to do your original discussion post on or by Wednesday. That way, people who want to do, when you do your peer responses, you will have time to do it. Otherwise, if everybody's hopping on Sunday trying to do it all, then they don't have any other responses to respond to. With a class of 20, that's not a huge problem. But when I have some smaller classes, 6, 7, 8 students, and you only have a couple of people do them on time, then you're kind of stuck with answering somebody's questions that you may would rather have done someone else's. Autumn says, I like to read other people's posts and do my replies before I do my original post. It makes my brain kick in. Well, yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I'm going to work, and I've been saying this for a while, I'm going to work on doing an initial post myself and some replies to kind of give you guys an example of kind of what we're looking for. So when you pull this up, and there's not one due this week because I replaced it with that initial English is hard tonight. That initial assignment that God bless America. I don't believe, I can't think of it. The diagnostic. Thank gosh. So I replaced that with the diagnostic instead of doing a week 1 discussion. So that kind of gives you a break. Now, if you notice, and I think I said in all of these, the original post should be 300 words minimum. That's really not a lot. That's kind of a long email. So, and then the peer posts are 100-word minimum. I will count off a little bit. It's not like a heavy hit, but if it's not 300 words, expect a little bit counted off. Usually how I grade them is I split it up. For the original post, you get 20 points. The first 5 points is going to be spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So I look at that and then mark off accordingly. The second 5 points will be length. And then the next 10 points will be based upon, did you hit the parts of the assignment you need to? And then I'll, take off points, if you missed something, if you didn't answer all the questions, things like that. So that'll be part of your 20 points. And then each peer reply is worth 5 points. I might take off a little bit if they're not long enough, but I can't really do a whole lot to you on those. They're only worth 5 points apiece. And then part of that is when you do the peer responses, the point is to move the conversation forward. If you're just putting something on, praising them and telling you how much you like their post, that really doesn't count. That's fine to add in there, but then we want to move the conversation forward. We want to give them some sort of feedback and reply to the real meat of the discussion. So, and I will tell you, and I think I haven't said this, but since this is business communication, I will be judging even on the 5 points of spelling, grammar, punctuation, tone, clarity. I will be looking at that pretty heavy, and I will be kind of a hard grading on that, harder than I do in the other courses, just because being able to write is kind of part of the course. So I do ask that you really pay attention. Now, what really helps is getting geez, why is it so hard these days? Grammarly, thank you. Getting Grammarly, they have a free version. It's not wonderful or great, but it's pretty good, and it'll help you with some of the more obvious mistakes, not capitalizing first sentence, some really misspelled words. So, and I like it a lot, especially to help students. There's also one called Cite Me, which I may put in an email later, a link to that. Darily, yes, Grammarly is pretty great. Now, the full version, words are hard, yes. English is hard for me these days. And it's the only language I speak. So we're kind of stuck. Also, right now I'm using and way too much. And in our video, don't nod your head, Autumn. Don't agree. What I want to hear is, no, it's okay. I'm trying to break the habit of that. In our video here in a minute, it will explain kind of why we do that. So I'm just going to beat up one more time. Please, for gosh sakes, do your discussions. I hate it when people do all their Cengage assignments and they end up with a D when they should have a B, or they end up with a C when they should have an A, just because of refusal to do discussions. It just, I'm sitting in my desk usually when I'm looking at that, going, just please, I just want to grab you and shake you. Just do your discussions. They're not that bad. So there will be some people who won't listen to me and will refuse to do them. I actually believe I had a student in one of my last classes that they did all their Cengage work all the way through. I think they made an 89 or so as an average in those, and they were 65% of their grade. So last time I looked at the grade, it was a 58. And I'm just begging, please, please do your discussions. You don't need to do all that Cengage work just to fail the class. That would just be a terrible travesty and not necessary to put yourself through that torture where you have to come back and take the class again and pay for it. And nobody wants to do a class again, and nobody wants to pay for it twice. That's just a horrible, terrible thing to have to happen. So we have the discussions. You know where to find the assignments. You can also look at your grades here. I grade the day after they're due. So Applio is going to grade them automatically, and they should shove them into Canvas, and you will see them here. But discussions, I don't grade, like I won't grade the original till Thursday morning, and I won't grade the peer post usually till Sunday morning, unless you have them done, unless you do the peer post by Wednesday, and I'll go ahead and throw in the whole grade. So when you see on Thursday morning you have like an 18, that's not your permanent grade unless you don't do the peer replies. So when you do the peer replies later in the week, I go back on the next Monday and double check that, make sure who's done them, and gets credit for those. So don't panic when you see an 18 or 17. It's just I'm making sure I grade that on time so you know where you're at. I like for everybody to know where they're at in their class, what their grade is at that point in time, because it's just fair. It's just fair, so you guys know exactly where you're at any point. So this is how you do your scores. If you want to know what the percentage is, okay, you take however what your score is divided by the out of. That's all you have to do. And I will do that real quick. I'll use Excel. You'll see me use Excel a lot in some of the other classes. Do we have any people that are any good with Excel? Nice. Okay. Just good enough. That's all it takes. Great. And if you're not really great at Excel, don't be horrible. I love Excel. My undergrad was in finance, and so we did everything on Excel. And I'm just an Excel guy. So the Holly loves it. See? So if you made it 25 and total of 30 points, and like I said, and in Excel, if you want, like you see when I type 25 and 30, this is for people who aren't super familiar. It's just going to give you the number, or I can type A, B, C, and it'll just give me the text. If you want to do the calculations, when you put an equal sign, that's telling Excel everything after it's going to be a formula. If you're a 10 key person, you just hit plus as well. That's what I do. Once you get, and that's right, Autumn, once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. It's not scary. So I'm telling everything else is a formula. I take the 25 divided by 30, and you'll see that's an 83%. And you can also hit the percentage up here. They give you, so you made an 83 on that. I think that was the long way around of giving the instruction. And that way you kind of know where you're at. And the reason I do it the way I do it, put the 25, 30, and then create a formula that uses these cells. Never used it before. Okay. If you need some supplemental instruction, get with me, Jessica. And I can help you with the basics. If you haven't had ITT yet, ITT is the one that will teach Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And the reason I do this the way I do is because you can just change that number and it'll change the solution for you. Okay, no problem, Jessica. That's why we're here. We're really invested in your success, and I hope everyone understands that. And I'm here to help. All you have to do is ask. And the people who, if your grade isn't where it should be, or if you're missing something, you will get a weekly email, usually on Monday, from me. And I usually do those Monday afternoon after I do attendance and grading and everything else. I send out emails telling you where you're at, and for that week, for the week we just got done with, and that way there's no surprises. So read your emails, please. And if I send out anything, sometimes they're a little long and they drag on. Excuse me, but there's usually some good information in there to help you out. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say, be aware of your GPA. Just be aware of your GPA. You have to have a 2.0 GPA to graduate. Okay. And that's a C average is what that is. Do not underestimate that, because you can pass all your classes, and if you have too many D's and it drops you down below a 2.0, you still don't graduate. And so keep an eye on that. If your GPA is in danger, I will also add that to the email and say, hey guys, here's your GPA and here's what you need to make sure you get to that 2.0 over the next 1, 2, 3 classes. So pay attention to that too. I hate for people, when I was in the engineering program, you had to have a 2.5 to graduate with your engineering degree. And one woman, she went through the entire program and had a 2.49 for her GPA, and she didn't get to walk the stage with the rest of us. She had to take one more class, because they don't round GPAs up. She had to take one more class just to bring her GPA up so she could graduate from the program. And I know it hit her pretty hard because she had done all that work and she wasn't quite where she needed to be. So, and I felt bad for her. Felt super bad. But she went and took some easy class and got it up and graduated, and it was all good. And just so you know, on your GPAs, I'll put some grades here. Okay. So an E's would represent your final grade in a class. An A is worth 4 points, and a 4.0 is the highest. B is worth 3 points. C is worth 2 points. D is worth 1 point, and an F is worth 0 points. And how they do these, they gather all these up and they just do an average of those grades. And I'll make sure. So if you make you have, was it 5 classes? If you make 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and you fail a class, you will have a 2.0. And I don't like that. It's a little too close for comfort. I like to see people in the 3.0 range, just so you have a little cushion, just in case you have an issue with a class. So just be aware that's how it's done, and keep a great eye on it. And some of you won't worry. You know, I have some students who make A's in every class, so you don't have to worry. A's and B's, you don't have to worry. A's, B's, and C's are fine. It's when you start making the D's and not passing your classes that it can really bite you in the rear end. And I just don't want that to happen. So we have discussed all the above. Any questions or comments? I should have asked that a couple of times already. Anything that is confusing? Nope. I always give everybody a few seconds to chime in just in case they're trying to type an answer. Not just yet. All right. Well, Adam says no more confused than normal. I believe double check my notes here. Right side up. That Adam is was a, or is a soldier, because you're never not a soldier anymore. So once a soldier, always a soldier. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're confused, because, you know, us old vets are kind of, you know, dense sometimes. You weren't a Marine, were you? Okay, Army strong. Okay, not Army smart. Yeah, that I agree. Just make sure you're not a Marine, because if you were and you came in my office, I'd keep some crayons in a cup for you to eat. You know, it's just good nature ribbing. I've got a lot of Marine friends, Air Force, and you know, several. You know, nibble on the green ones. A lot of my old buddies from the Army, and then of course there's the Coast Guard, which I don't acknowledge I know anybody from that. Just teasing. Actually, I really admire the Coast Guard, because I'm not a big water guy, and that's why I kind of admire the Navy as well, because anybody who can go out there on big bodies of water is okay with me. I've got, you know, I had 21 jumps when I was on Fort Bragg, and I would much rather jump out of a plane than look at a large body of water, because that's just scurry. Okay, so we got all this. Know where to find the Zoom. Know where to find the syllabus. Okay, if you don't show up to class on this page, and you'll see they're not blue because I don't have anything for this, because today's the first video. Also under assignments or modules, the attendance and participation. If you don't show up to class, 300-page summary of the video. You'll find the video on the front page, and you'll find the video here as well. Okay, that way you can get your attendance points, because attendance is also 10% of your grade. So if you don't do discussions, you don't do attendance, you lose 35% of your grade. 10% is not bad. It'll just take you down one letter grade. So for everybody who knows me here, there's a couple other things I like to go into the first week. We'll take the article second. The first thing, I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan, if anybody knows who that is. He's got this is a short 5-minute video. It's called "Here's Why It's So Bloody Hard to Sit Down and Get Work Done." He tells you why you have a hard time doing it. He doesn't give you any answers, I think. And we'll go through some of the stuff during the article. He doesn't give you any answers how to fix it. He just makes you aware of why there's a problem. And it's pretty entertaining. He's a great communicator. And that's another reason why I like his videos, because he's really good at communicating. You'll notice he walks around, he looks at students. He uses a little bit of humor, and he just really good, really good. So I'm going to go with that. Make sure I am sharing my,
So
which
a man
I am.
who's capable of aggression.
So
who has
everybody
it
can
under
hear that,
control,
right?
is a way more useful man than one who cannot do that. And so you're willing to go get a job, but you're terrified of an interview. It's like, there's a dragon for you. Your attention, for example, is mediated by unconscious forces. And you know that perfectly well. And this is another Freudian observation. You know, if you're sitting down to study, for example, your conscious intent is to study, but you know perfectly well that all sorts of distraction fantasies are going to enter the theater of your imagination non-stop and annoyingly, and there isn't really a lot you can do about that except maybe wait it out, you know. So you'll be sitting there reading and your attention will flicker away. You'll think about, I don't know, maybe you want to watch Jane the Virgin on Netflix or something like that, or maybe it's time to have a peanut butter sandwich, or you should get the dust bunnies from out from underneath the bed, or it's time to go outside and have a cigarette, or maybe it's time for a cup of coffee, or it's like all these subsystems in you that would like something aren't very happy just to sit there while you read this thing that you're actually bored by, and so they pop up and try to take control of your perceptions and your actions non-stop. Maybe you think, well, this is a stupid course anyways, why do I have to read this damn paper, and what am I doing in university, and what's the point of life? It's like you can really get going if you're trying to avoid doing your homework, and then you might think, well, what is it in you that's trying to avoid? Because after all, you took the damn course and you told yourself to sit down. Why don't you listen? Well, because you're a mess. That's basically why. You haven't got control over yourself at all. And no more than I have control over this laptop. Okay, so there's the memory function of the unconscious, and there's the dissolutive function. That's an interesting one. The unconscious contains habits, once voluntary, now automatized, and dissociated elements of the personality, which may lead a parasitic existence. That's an interesting one. I would relate that more to procedural memory. You know, so what you've done is practice certain habits, whatever they might be, let's call them bad habits, and you like those things to get under control, but you can't. So maybe when you're speaking, for example, you use like and you know, and you say a lot, and you've practiced that, so you're really good at it, and you'd like to stop it, but you don't get to, because you've built that little machine right into your being, right? It's neurologically wired, and it's not under conscious control, and anything you practice becomes that. It becomes part of you, and that's another element of the unconscious, a different part. And then there's a creative part, which is that, well, you know, you're sitting around and maybe you're trying to write something, or maybe you want to produce a piece of art or a piece of music, or maybe you're just laying in bed dreaming and you have all these weird ideas, and especially in dreams, it's like, where do those things come from? And even more strange, one of the things that's really weird about dreams, and almost impossibly weird, is that you're an observer in the dream. It's like a dream is something that happens to you. Well, you're dreaming it, theoretically, so how is it that you can be an observer? It's almost like you're watching a video game or a movie, but you're producing it, at least in principle, although the psychoanalysts would say, well, no, not exactly. Your ego isn't producing it, your unconscious is producing it. It's a different thing. It's a different thing, and of course Jung would say, well, it's deeper than that. The collective unconscious might be producing it. It's, in some sense, it isn't you exactly, or it isn't the you that you think of when you think of you. And that's the ego from the Freudian perspective, the you that you identify with. That's the ego. And outside of that is the unconscious. The id, that's more the place of impulses, and you could think about those as the biological subsystems that can derail your thinking, right? And that govern things like hunger and sex and aggression and your basic instincts is another way of putting it. And it's a reasonable way of thinking about it, because these are subsystems that you share with animals. You share them certainly with mammals, you share most of them with reptiles, you share a lot of them with amphibians, and even going all the way down to crustaceans there's commonality, for example, in the dominance hierarchy circuits. And so these are very, very old things, and the idea that you're in control of them is, well, you're not exactly in control of them. And I would say the less integrated you are, the less you're in control of them, and the more they're in control of you. And that can get really out of hand, you know. You can be like with people who have obsessive compulsive disorder, for example, which is which seems to be, I would say, the dissolutive elements in some sense of the unconscious, the way that it's portrayed here. Poor people with obsessive compulsive disorder, they can spend half their time doing things that they can't really control, and they have very strong impulses to do them, and it's very hard on them to block them. You know, they'll almost panic if those things are blocked. And then you have people with Tourette's syndrome, you know, that they'll be doing all sorts of weird dances and spouting off obscenities and imitating people without being able to control it, and sometimes a little bit of antipsychotic medication can dampen that down, but it's as if there are these autonomous semi-spirits inside of them that grip control over their behavior and make them do things. And you know, you find that to some degree in your own life, because maybe you've become very attracted to someone, even maybe you don't want to be attracted to the person, and then you find yourself, you know, texting them when you know perfectly well that you should be going to bed, and you know, you're in a grip of something, and you can't control it, and that's all part of the unconscious and all part of what Freud was studying.
So there you go. No answers, just kind of give you information of why you have a hard time. And this is common among everybody. Everybody. And so you have to find a way, your own way, to help deal with that. And so the next thing I go with is this article here. I usually don't like these internet articles. They're sometimes, you know, picture this weird guy here. But this one actually is really good at telling you things you already know, but sometimes forget or don't put together. It's just nice to have them ordered out for you and in print, so you can go, oh, yeah, that's what I should be doing. That's what I'm forgetting I'm doing. I need to do. Or, okay, that's another thing that I didn't think of. Now, I will tell you, one of my things are take breaks. Nobody can sit around for 3 hours and try to plow through homework. That is just counterproductive. It's not good. I mean, some people can, but it's just brutal on you. And there is no reason to put yourself through that. Unless, of course, it's Sunday night and you haven't done anything for the week and you're in a panic, and it's 8:30, and then you're just kind of force your way into that. But once again, that's not what you want to do. So time check. Okay, set a major goal. You're in school, so you've probably already done that, or you're working on that. You know kind of what you want to do. I think I saw a lot of people in this class who are going to go into accounting. That's wonderful. Accounting is the language of business. If you're, I've done, I did some accounting for a few businesses. I worked at a Ford dealership and did accounting for a while. And so that's a great skill to have. Great skill to have. I know we also, I don't know if we have any surge techs. I know we got some HCA people, healthcare administration. I don't remember seeing any medical billing or coding or surge techs, but there may be some of those in here. All very good stuff. I appreciate that. Although I do keep an eye on the surge techs, because I don't want a 2.0 student. I don't want to, the last thing I see is I look over and see one of the students that had a 2.0 average before they go to operate on me. I may try to roll off the table and crawl away before the anesthesia takes effect. Treat study like a job. I tell this story a lot. Is I have a guy, a good friend of mine, we graduated high school together. And he became a fireman in Fort Worth. And when it came time, they worked 28 on, 48 off, I believe is what it was. Anytime a test came up for him to get promoted, he treated it like a job. He went and did it every day. And he made sure that he was giving those tests the proper respect, and he always passed them with flying colors. Now he's a captain in the Fort Worth Fire Department, and those guys make bank. I did not realize what a captain in a fire department made, especially in larger cities like that. If I'd have known that years ago, I'd probably be a fireman instead of a teacher. Make a study plan, manage your time, which is hard, which is really hard. I know in ITT class, we actually do a calendar that you have to do every week, and you write down when you get up, when you go to school, when you go to work, when you take the kids to daycare, and you put all that in front of you. And when you do that, you'll notice where you're wasting your time. Dedicated study blocks, and we'll get into that. But I'm going to sit down and study from, what does it say, 9 to 11 here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to dedicate that. I'll make sure I don't have any distraction. The kids are in bed. The husband's watching, I don't know. I'm a big nerd, so I don't watch the same thing. But yeah, he's watched, well, I do watch football and basketball and golf, but that has nothing to do with this. But he's watching football highlights. You find yourself a nice quiet spot, and you just take that time to do your reading and work on your assignments. Find a quiet space. Now, a quiet space, I've always tell people, find a space that you can work in without a lot of distractions. Now, for me, if it's too quiet, I cannot get any work done. Some people, it has to be completely silent for them to concentrate. For me, if it's too quiet, all those little things start popping into my head, and I just can't do it. So I always have some music or a podcast or something in the background that's not taking my attention away, but it helps me concentrate. So just find your own thing. Like I said, eliminate distractions. Kids are in bed. Husband or wife is doing their thing. And it goes along with limit social media, stay off Facebook, stay off TikTok. We know how TikTok can be. You can start scrolling through the videos, and next thing you know, it's an hour later, and you go, oh crap. So do that. And that, like I said, limit social, stay off Facebook. Facebook's terrible for you if you're trying to study. Online resources, utilize those. Google's a great thing. The old joke is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. When you look at what you're doing and it seems overwhelming and just this massive project or massive amount of work to do, just take your time and break it down into smaller tasks. I do this first, I do this second, I do this third. And if you do that and you start whittling away at the larger task by doing that, it becomes a lot easier and less overwhelming. I've done lots of projects, and when they first give it to you, especially when I was in the drilling business and things of that nature, it becomes completely overwhelming. And so what I would do is I would sit down and write down, this is what I do first, this is what I do second, this is what I do third. And when that would happen, it just became less daunting. Be mentally engaged, which is difficult. We saw in the video, all sorts of distractions come up, and they're not outside distractions. They are inside your head, and you have a really hard time controlling them. Like I said, I need to go get a peanut butter sandwich, I need a cup of coffee, I need a cigarette. Hopefully nobody's a smoker, because it's bad for you. Don't do that. But you need all sorts of these things start popping in your head. Like I said, dust bunnies, or I need to take out the trash, or did I hear the dishwasher finish? I need to go unload those. Take notes when you need to. The way I got through all my math classes, all the way from college algebra through statistics through Calc 2, is I took notes in class, and then immediately when I got out of class, because when you're taking notes, you're not really listening to the full extent. You're trying to copy down what's being said. I would get my other notebook out and I would rewrite those notes, make sure they're neat, make sure I'm paying attention to what they mean. And some of my harder classes just became a lot easier by doing that, by putting in that time. Browse intelligently. Like I said, when you're looking up stuff for class and trying to figure out what you want to do, and you flip over to Facebook to see what your sister posted because you got an alert, that's not doing it right. Make study enjoyable, and like I said, take breaks. When you're studying, I make it enjoyable, make it comfortable as well. Have the things you need around you. Do you need a Coke? Do you need these things that kind of just, you can reach over, grab your bottle of water, whatever you need, and make it a comfortable thing to place to be. Nobody wants to just not have fun. Take frequent breaks. Breaks are productive. Okay. And I usually combine that with rewarding yourself and taking breaks. That's how I do it. And some people do it by time limit. If I read or do this for the next 30 minutes, then I get my break. I do it in those little bites. I tell myself when I finish this task, then I'm going to take a 10 or 15-minute break, and then I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to go have my peanut butter sandwich, or I'm going to scroll on Facebook for a few minutes, get up and walk around. So kind of getting myself just back to relaxed and comfortable. And like I said, you can do it by time, you can do it by, pieces of the project, whatever is best for you. Stay healthy. Okay. You have 20 people in this class. And I know being an online class, it's kind of hard to connect with the people or have a study team, but you guys can get on Zoom on your own. You can get 3 or 4 people together and work on this stuff and feed off of each other. That's another way I got through college was, 3 or 4 heads were a lot better than one. And maybe someone had a better way of explaining something than the instructor did. And you'll find that if you connect with some of the people in your class, I'll try to explain it, and I'll miss the mark with some people. Some people get it. Some people, it's just not how they learn. So bada bing, bada boom. Somebody else may explain it a different way. And you go, oh, duh. And that is that article is on the front page if you want to reread it. If you want to see that video again, which probably nobody does, I would say if you want to know how to communicate verbally effectively, look at some Jordan Peterson videos. He's just really good at it. Just really, really good at it. And there's some other ones, Tony Robbins, any of those kind of inspirational speakers, they have it down pat. A lot of politicians do. Some don't. One of my favorite politicians, even though he's not really my cup of tea politically, but to watch him was Bill Clinton. And he was such an effective communicator. And he, I would sit there and listen to a speech and I go, yeah, okay. Now later when I got done with it, I go, no, that was wrong. But he would have me so engaged and so convinced that at the time he was just being such an effective communicator that, he had me engrossed. So it's 7:28. We've pretty much burned up this entire hour. If you have any questions or comments, more than happy to take those on. Now, one of the things I do when I start recording, that's the official beginning of class. When I stop recording, you guys can go ahead and head out. You can bounce. I will stay as long as necessary. If anybody has any questions or need any help or anything else, I will stay after the class is done. So in that vein, I will stop recording.